About a year ago, I was introduced to Ask and It Is Given, and life shifted in a great way, particularly around finance. Paid off all of our personal debt. Things are moving beautifully. And a few weeks ago, a client contract went away. And my first response was to take the windshield, to use the earlier analogy, out of the front of the car, stick it in the floorboard, look straight down, and think, well, now I have to make X amount of money happen in X amount of time. And it's not a good feeling place. And I heard...
Making a lot of money fast doesn't feel good to you?
Wow. Making a lot of money fast feels great to me.
If you believe it.
Yeah.
So what you're saying to us is not believing that you can make a lot of money fast doesn't feel good. So stop thinking that.
Okay.
Next.
It's so easy.
Well, the thing that we know that you're yet to know, and it's coming to you soon, is that if the vortex trumps everything.
Right.
So in the face of evidence that defies what you want, if you look at the evidence that defies what you want, you're going to feel fear. But when you know what you know, you've come so far, you know so much. If you can hear us when we say the vortex trumps everything, and you might not be able to conjure another contract just out of the ethers instantly, and you might not be able to see an immediate path to that money that you want or need, but you do know that you can get into the vortex in the next 5 minutes if you really want to. And if we can convince you that getting into the vortex in the next 5 minutes because you really want to is all that you need to do, and then the vortex will take care of everything else, if we can convince you of that, then you're done. But you got to believe it enough to get into the vortex. And that's the thing. What is sometimes so compelling that it keeps you out of the vortex, because you keep wanting to explain the injustice of the client bailing out of you. Right. You want to explain how it shouldn't have happened, in that defensiveness or in that sheer examination of what is. But you just got to let go of what is, because you can't move to where you want to be while you're looking at what is. They are two different vibrations. They are two different vantage points. They are different.
Or just to be able to, I think where I get tripped is not seeing the path forward. Not even so much the injustice, which certainly plays a part.
All right, so let's go back to what we were saying earlier. So not seeing the path, not being able to be in the vortex, not being able to appreciate something sucky that happened.
Right.
So nothing wrong with that. Everybody understands that. So what did we just offer earlier? Appreciate if you can, and if you can't, do what?
Go general.
Go general. So now let's take this specific subject of this client,
right.
that contract that was, and be specific if you want to begin with, but go general and negative.
Sure. Everything is moving perfectly, and it feels really lousy to have somebody that you trusted
I was doing
something.
My part.
I did my part. I over-delivered. I gave added value, and then to have the contract go away it does feel unjust.
Feels like a betrayal.
Yeah.
So so we've all added to the specifics of that. Now let it be negative, because you can't help it,
right.
But make it more general in the negative. It's just business. People are always looking they're looking for the best advantage they can find. It really was not as personal as I wanted it to be. Really, I think business should be more business and not so personal. It's never a good idea to put a lot of eggs in one basket, and it's the point of having a lot of contracts, and it's sharpening my awareness of all of that.
Right.
I still have all of the knowledge that I held. I'm still willing to do as much service as I was ever doing. I know that there are other people out there, just as these people came to us. There are others that are looking for us now.
And that's a shift into the general positive. I know there's others that are out there.
Did you feel that?
Yeah.
It did shift,
yeah.
but you got there pretty easily from there. Now, if you don't make that shift, it's all right to stay in the general negative for a while, okay. Because it's movement from where you are, and in shifting to the more general, the more positive calls you. In other words, this is the thing that we want you to understand. The vortex, with all its solutions, is calling you. You just can't hear it, because you're beating the drum of the specific problem. But when you beat the drum of a less specific problem, you have a better chance to hear the vortex. When you really get general, the vortex is calling you right into that general place, that general, and as you hang around there, before you know it, the solution just lights right up. From one day to the next, it can light up. You can find yourself saying, I see why that contract, which was not nearly as good as this one that came, had to go away in order to break loose the time and the personnel in order for us to service this other potentially much greater, potentially, you see what we're getting at?
Yeah, big time.
Now you can feel that. Now that doesn't, and it doesn't even feel like something that is hopeful. It feels like something that is certain, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it feels like a natural flow and a natural progression.
And so now if you want to play with it a little bit, you can go back to the general negative and say, I'm looking forward to having a conversation where I actually thank them for all we learned together,
right,
all that we became because of them, the expansion that I know would not have been there if it had not been for that, the preparation that they helped me with, and even the impetus for this new multiple contracts that were not available to me before that happened.
Right.
Ooh.
Right.
Because it's an adventure, isn't it? Isn't it an adventure? Aren't you always at the beginning of the journey? And don't you just don't. So now let's talk about this. We were talking about it earlier, about the familiar.
Right.
So let's say, so you're familiar with home, you're familiar with the food you eat, you're familiar with the work that you're doing. It's familiar. But doesn't the road call you?
Always.
Doesn't the vacation call you? Doesn't traveling the word call you? Doesn't interfacing with other business concepts call you? Doesn't expansion call you? Doesn't it all call you? And isn't familiar and same the opposite of being called? Isn't the adventure always calling you? And isn't change always a wonderful thing? And we're putting this to you from our absolute point of knowing, and we want to evoke our knowing right through you. Are not things always working out for you? Aren't they?
Yes.
Yes, things are always working out for you. It doesn't matter how it looks. Things are working out for you. This is a blessing in disguise. This is a good thing that's happened, not a bad thing that's happened, because bad things don't happen when things are always working out for you. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Can you feel the faith of it? Are you starting to know it a little bit, you see? When you get there, you'll never be in a bad place very long, because you'll catch your balance quick. And then where you go from that place that felt bad will feel better than anything you've ever done. You ever eaten a meal after you've been hungry? Wasn't it way good?
One other question about change. My life partner